So we can see well frozen ice here, lots of dirt and stuff underneath. Then we have a little bit of basal material coming out of these cracks that he was explaining as the moraine builds up. In some cases you actually get some sorting, so we've got lots of basal material there, and then the dust, the rock powder, lots of clay and silt particles, and even some sand in here that have been deposited around it once the lake slowed down a bit. So walking through here, it might look like I've just come through a valley in the middle of a mountain, but this is all actually just material that's been belched off the front of this glacier we're coming up on. There it is right there. So this whole valley I just came through, there's a little stream bed down there, obviously. This is all debris. This is a huge glacial till plain. Not glacial till plain, sorry, glacial moraine. With the, as Stephen was explaining, the diamectin is the generic term for all the debris that comes out when it's completely unsorted. Diamectin?
Yeah, that's what it's called. This type of unsorted sediments, everything from boulders through to clay. And the matrix, mostly washed out here because it's a bit older. You can see bits here, which is very fine. Through to huge boulders.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a diamectin. Because we know it's glacial, we can call it a till. But diamectin is a generic term.
So again, the sorting is off the charts. Some rounded, some broken. Flat surfaces here and here. And yeah, pockets of down to just dust and clay and silt particles almost. Now we come to a very clay-rich layer. Obviously a lot of the larger material has been covered over. Probably the last time there was a stream ran down this way, carried on out into the torrent that is the Outwash River, cutting through the moraine. So you have to figure that at some point there was probably the dammed lake that he was talking about up here, and then as that lake gives way, it'll cut through all that moraine, taking with it layer after layer of material, and then, you know, a century or so later the lake builds up again. Just taking a look at some of the debris, we can see like a little pock mark here. A rock just fell out of there. Another one here, that one's getting pretty loose. This is not stuff like when your lawn freezes over and freezes around rocks. These are rocks that have been picked up, and as we look along the base of the glacier here, we can actually see all the debris that's getting scooped up, carried into the base of the glacier as it moves across, and now as the glacier is starting to retreat, that stuff's getting left in pockets. So this whole area that I'm standing on has been left behind as that ice retreats. We can even see some way up there. It's like there's an ice ledge over there, but there's all kinds of debris over here, and things that have been stuck into the ice up in there, that have literally been carried along or deposited by the meltwater as it's come off. It's always neat to know that you're not the first scientist to come and explore something. The last person apparently couldn't be bothered carrying their tin of sardines out with them. So for those of us growing up in the 80s through the aughts, probably haven't seen a can of roll-up seafood before, but Stephen was just explaining that large bodies like this one here, which you can see Eloise standing behind for scale, stuff like this that's still really angular, was probably something that landed on the top of a glacier here. As the glacier goes through under the mountains, erodes away part of the hill, you get landslides landing on the mountain, and then these big angular chunks here would just get carried along on the surface of the glacier, or maybe in the first few layers, but never making their way down to the bottom. Whereas those more rounded parts, subangular to sub-rounded, those types of rocks probably made their way down closer to the base and were ground up in the basal debris, the basal powder, rock flour that's getting ground at the bottom of the glacier itself. But we are right now, I would say, probably halfway across. Oh no, we're about a third of the way across the end moraine here on the Thompson Glacier. Most of the material that we've been passing, you can imagine being carried along by a glacier, something about the size of my leg or foot here, even a little bit bigger, just up past my knee. But then we get to this guy right here. That I would say is the size of a very large conference table and surface area anyway, and that would have taken a whole lot of energy to move. You don't move something like that in a river. So you see a big erratic like that, even something like this guy right here, you know they've been carried along by a glacier. Other stuff like this debris could wash away in a good landslide and be carried along by a river. But there's some things that we see in our day-to-day passing and we're like, yes, you only arrived here by glacier. And there, oh, Steven's making some tracks now. He's way off in the distance. But this little stream bed here got carried along what was left of the glacier. Oh, it looks like we had a little pool, little mini lake built up and then drained away from flood water because there's no break on the other side, although there was a previous stream bed over here. So really interesting topography. We're up and we're down. On the opposite side here you can see little slope failure as material was obviously eroded away from the bottom by the running water here. So we're constantly cutting away at terraces as a new meltwater lake or glacial lake, glacial lake outflow they called it, happens. You can see big channel up in the middle of the lateral moraine there. As a gloff breaks out and we get that outflow moving along, carrying all that debris and residue with it, eroding the stream banks. Got a nice cut bank over here as we pick our way along and look for a place to cross.